Huge news for Mercedes. After a rough F1 season in 2022, Mercedes is off to a bad start in 2023. Lewis Hamilton's chances of winning the championship are fading, and the pressure is building. After the first race of the 2023 Formula One season showed that Mercedes once again couldn't make a car that could win the championship, less and less people in the F1 world believe something can drastically change. But there could be at least some good news ahead. More on that later though. Let's get on with the video. After turbo hybrid engines were put into Formula One cars in 2014, Mercedes completely dominated the sport. They won 8 straight constructors' titles, with drivers Lewis Hamilton and Nico Rosberg taking the first 7. Even though the Red Bull had shown they could compete with Mercedes when Verstappen won his first title in 2021, it had already been decided that radical new design rules would be put in place for 2022, which could theoretically change the order of things. When the Mercedes team showed off a new zero side pod design at pre-season testing, most people thought they had once again outsmarted their competitors, who had more traditional designs and would start another run of dominance. So it came as a big surprise when it turned out that the new rules had caught them off guard and that they were having more trouble than any other team with porpoising, which is a bouncing effect caused by the way the 2022 cars were designed under the new rules. Almost every team had problems, but Mercedes' problems were the worst, and they hurt the performance of their W13 and the comfort of their drivers the most. As Red Bull and Ferrari fought for wins in the first half of the season, they were a long way behind. They were out of the race for the championship long before the halfway point. Mercedes did a great job of improving their car. They often beat Ferrari and came close to winning more than once, but it wasn't until Russell won the penultimate race of the season in Brazil that they were able to celebrate. The win appeared to indicate that Mercedes had got on top of their issues and gave the team and their supporters optimism that 2023 would bring a return to title contention. The fact that Mercedes' performance got better in the second half of the season may have been the worst thing that could have happened, since it made them decide to stick with their much talked about zero side pod idea. During the winter, the team's factory in Brackley was filled with cautious optimism. Wolff and his drivers had a defiant attitude, as they still believed in the untapped potential of their idea. Wolff said at the launch of the W14 on February 15th that they might start the season behind Red Bull, but he was confident that the car would eventually be competitive enough to fight at the very front of the grid. Russell left Bahrain, where testing and the first race were held, to work on improving the car at the factory in the UK. When he returned to the Sakir circuit, he was sure that a lot of progress had been made, and he was right, but that would be the end of all the good things. After 3 practice sessions, qualifying and a race, Mercedes could see that their idea was flawed and that their hopes of winning the 2023 title were already gone. Toto Wolff, the head of the Mercedes team, said before the Bahrain Grand Prix that he didn't think Mercedes' unique car idea would work. Wolff turned out to be right. Lewis Hamilton and George Russell were 5th and 7th when they crossed the finish line. It hurt even more that Fernando Alonso won in his Mercedes-powered Aston Martin, which finished 3rd. But it looks like Mercedes will change their 2023 car. Wolff said this before the Bahrain Grand Prix. "We gave it our best go over the winter, and now we all just need to regroup, sit down with the engineers, be totally non-dogmatic, and ask what is the development direction we want to pursue in order to be able to win races." George Russell echoed Wolff's comments. "The fact is, we didn't have enough performance on the car," Russell said after Sunday's race. "Today's probably back to the reality, and we just need to get back to the drawing board and keep on working." The small spark of good news at Brackley is the return of a familiar figure in the Mercedes HQ. Motorsport Italy has reported that James Allison is poised for a return. So, for those of you younger F1 fans that haven't heard of him, here's a short history. Allison joined the Benetton Formula One team in 1991 after getting his degree from Cambridge. He worked in the aerodynamics department. After a few years at Benetton, he went to La Rousse as the head of aerodynamics and then came back to Benetton in the same job. Then was the big jump. In 2000, he moved to Ferrari, where he stayed for 5 years. We think it's safe to say that those 5 years were good ones for the Scuderia. In 2005, Allison went back to Benetton, which is now known as Renault F1, and took a job as its deputy technical director. In 2009, Allison took over as the technical director. In 2011, Renault F1 changed its name to Lotus Renault GP, and in 2012 it became Lotus. Allison left his job with the Lotus One team in May 2013. He then went to work for Ferrari as chassis technical director and then technical director until July 2016. His wife died on July 27, 2016, which is why he quit this job and took a break from the sport. Then on February 16, 2017, James Allison's modern legacy really got going. He joined Mercedes-AMG Petronas as the team's first technical director. And, well, we think it's safe to say that Mercedes has been great since 2017. To put this all in perspective, James Allison has helped win championships with the following cars: F2000, F2001, F2002, F2003, and F2004 in Ferrari. Then he helped design the R25, R26, the cars with which Fernando Alonso won both of his titles in 2005 and 2006. Then the W09, W10, W11, and W12 models, which brought Hamilton 4 of his 7 World Championship titles. Yes, you heard that right. This guy has made some of the most amazing Formula One cars ever. James Allison is one of the best F1 car designers of all time. He's right up there with Adrian Newey and Colin Chapman. So you might ask, why does he no longer work on F1 cars? Because God knows Mercedes needs him. Well, Ineos owns a third of Mercedes-AMG Petronas, so Allison was made Chief Technical Officer of the Britannia America's Cup team. He was in charge of Ben Ainsley's 37th America's Cup campaign from a technical standpoint. So, to make a long story short, a sailing team hired him to design boats instead of the really cool F1 cars. Mike Elliott was put in charge of the technical side of the new rules for 2022, and we can see how that's going. The team has brought back James Allison to help steer the ship in the right direction. Italian media say that Allison has helped develop Mercedes and the upgrades it will bring to Imola in May. Fans are likely to be happy to hear that Allison is coming back. Mercedes won 4 Constructors' Championships while the former technical director was in charge. It has been said that Allison had something to do with the changes Mercedes will make for Imola in May. Red Bull looks like they're going to win, and the Aston Martin is surprisingly good. Mercedes is under a lot of pressure to make changes. On their website after the Bahrain GP, Mercedes issued the following apology to its fans. Bahrain hurt. It hurt each one of us who head into every season determined to fight for world championships. It hurt the team as a whole after pouring so much hard work into a car that hasn't met our expectations. And we know it hurt you, our fans, too. Your passion and support are so important in driving us forward, and we know that we feel the same pain. Lewis Hamilton and George Russell are behind the times, and it is going to take some time to catch up. The situation we face right now isn't the one that any of us wanted, but it's the one we have. That's the reality of it, and the simple questions are, what can we do about it, and what will we do about it? Mercedes continued the open letter. First, we won't panic or make knee-jerk reactions. In a spotlight as fierce as F1, people are quick to point fingers or look for scapegoats. But you know us better than that. Inside the team, we talk about having the courage to fail, the character to be accountable, and the strength to see failure as an opportunity. We have been open and searingly honest about where we find ourselves, and we are working urgently and calmly to build our recovery plan. The team is also appealing to their fans, ending the statement with, "Are you ready to join us for the fight back? If not, then there are no hard feelings. If yes, then let's do this." What do you think? Can Mercedes fight back and, with the addition of the legend James Allison, completely turn things around this season? Let us know in the comments below, and see you in the next video.